Welcome back to another video from Grounded. Now, recently I've been doing on my Instagram a little bit of a talk through posts about life purpose, and I thought I would follow that up with a video to give a little bit more detail on life purpose and how we can find our life purpose and understanding what it takes to be more connected to your own true life purpose. Now I say true life purpose because the majority of us are so externally focused. As human beings, we become externally focused to make us feel better. Now, whether that be through money, whether that be through your job, whether that be through cars or materialistic, or whether that be through people, what human beings do is we look for our own contentment through things external to ourselves. I'm going to tell you now that all of the time you stay externally focused, you will get fuck all of anything that is truly fulfilling, of anything that will truly sustain you, of anything that will create true contentment. And if you don't believe me, look at all of the famous people out there. They're just as fucked up as any normal person. So all of the time we stay externally focused, we completely and utterly miss the joy of life, completely and utterly miss life's lessons. We think getting knocked is how we learn life lessons, and it kind of is in some way, but I'm going to tell you there's a much more direct route to learning about what you truly are, a much more direct route to understanding your own divinity. But we can only really begin to find this gold when we become internally focused. So phase one, if there is a phase, if there is a process, is understanding your own conditioning, understanding yourself. Now, all of the lessons you are to learn in this life are already set up within you. Your conditioning, which is already imprinted on you, which is already imposed upon you, is where you're going to find all of your life lessons, all of the gold. Now let me explain that a little bit more. If we grew up in a family where we felt rejected, and as a child we created the belief of rejection, well, that belief is actually setting up a lesson to learn in this life. So if we believe in rejection, the lesson that we will learn when we move closer to rejection, when we feel rejection, when we understand rejection, the lesson that we will learn is connection. Now, when I'm talking about rejection, I'm not talking about rejection from the people around you. I'm talking about the rejection of yourself. Rejection is only ever rejection of yourself. Reflected because you believe in rejection, your reality reflects rejection. So what actually happens is you draw in people that reject you. But the most important thing to understand about rejection is the feeling. The feeling of rejection is not a good feeling. You're not going to go out having a fucking party about how rejected you are. So rejection is always associated to a negative feeling. Now it's this negative feelings, the negative feelings that we have within us are what are setting up the contrast to understanding what you are versus what you are not. So stand on rejection. Rejection feels negative. Now when we begin to understand, or when we begin to feel negative emotion, when we begin to heal negative emotion, and we identify the belief, for example, rejection, then as we heal that, what do we get? We get connection. Connection with ourselves. And that connection with ourselves brings about contentment, brings about greater understanding of what we truly are, unifies us. So when we stop rejecting negative emotion, we actually learn through healing the lessons of this life. Let me give you another example. If we believe in lack, if we grew up in an environment where the family was poor, the family was broke, then that conditioning sets up the lessons to learn what your true nature is, which is abundance. If we grow up in a relationship where, relationship with our parents where we feel we have no worth, that sets up the conditioning for feeling what true worth feels like. If we feel worthless, then that worthless sets up the condition to feel worthy. Now, negative emotion is always the red flag. And it's the negative that gives contrast to the positive. The negative, rejection, gives contrast to what you truly are, which is the positive, which is connection. Which is why rejection doesn't feel good, because it's not the truth of this reality. So phase 1 is understanding your own conditioning. Your own conditioning is the teacher to show what you truly are when we begin this internal integration. So the lessons are already within you. It's when you become internally focused do you get to begin to awaken your own divinity. And the more connected we become with ourselves, the more internally aligned we become, the more integrated we become, we move into the next phase, which is true life service. So as we become more integrated, we become more whole, we become more complete. In the first phase, when we're externally focused to make ourselves feel better. It's a selfish way of living. We are trying to make ourselves feel better. Whereas when we move into true life purpose, we're talking about service to others. Your true life purpose is always to serve. So as we move into true life purpose, we move into service. Now that could be serving, whether that be teaching, whether that be bringing something to the planet that helps the planet be more sustainable, that helps us as people have a more sustainable life that benefits the planet. It could be just bringing your new state of consciousness to the people around you. But no matter what you're doing, when you're coming from a place of unity and self-understanding and contentment, what is reflected, no matter what you do, is always about bringing others and bringing this reality to a space of more unity, of more peace, of more love, of more abundance. So life purpose is always service to others, which is truly yourself, because when we realize that the school of life is within, we realize that we are all unified under one consciousness. And so any service is always service to that unification of consciousness, is always to the service of unity and unifying that one field of consciousness, that one intelligence. The more unified you become within, the more you begin to unify this reality, the more you begin to unify other people. How you serve, you don't need to work out, because your service in true alignment is your life purpose, and it will flow naturally from you. When you're in a state of abundance, when you're in a state of joy, when you're in a state of goodness, when you're in a state of contentment, your life will begin to have synchronization like you could never imagine. Your purpose will just naturally flow from your being. Your life will unfold in a state of flow. And that state of flow will allow you to fulfill your life purpose, but not from a state of discontent, from a state of contentment, from a state of peace, from a state of love, from a state of true knowledge of what you truly are. You awaken your divinity, and that is what life is truly about. Stay externally focused and you learn nothing. Become internally aligned and you get to taste your own divinity. To the next one, much love.